Do knives scare you? Some knives might scare you, or you might not be scared by any knife at all. Or maybe only certain knives scare you. Maybe you're completely okay with kitchen knives, but you don't like the look of certain kind of pocket knives. Or you don't like military knives. Well, I want to talk to you about just that. Now, this video isn't really for knife people. This is mostly aimed at people who don't like knives or are on the fence about knives, or for people who completely hate knives. Perhaps you might want to take just a little bit of time here to listen to what I have to say, because knives do get a lot of bad attention, and that's because knives are used by bad people. A lot of bad people carry knives and do bad things with them. They use them to threaten people, intimidate people, hurt people, and sadly kill people. But I'm here to say that not everyone who carries a knife is a bad person. Not everyone who has that knife in their pocket or on their belt is out to do harm. In fact, for some people, knives are a very useful tool. Some people don't ever leave the house without their trusty pocket knife, their Swiss Army knife, their multi-tool, whatever they may be carrying that day. Of course, you do have gang members, terrorists, etc. with a knife on them to cause harm, cause fear, intimidate people, rob people, assault them, etc. But that's not everyone. In fact, there are many people, I'd argue potentially millions of people in the UK. Maybe not millions, I don't know, I don't have any numbers. I wouldn't know where to find numbers. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people who carry knives that do not have that intention, that do not want to instill fear in people, that do not want to harm people. They just have knives for, well, I don't know actually. People have knives for different reasons. Look at it this way. You've definitely got millions of people carrying knives to, well, for their trade. Joiners, bricklayers, carpenters, carpet fitters, all these tradesmen, painters, blind fitters, roofers, tilers, all these people, all these tradesmen, of which there are of course millions, use knives, different kind of knives. And of course you've got butchers. Some butchers will carry their own knives to and from work because, well, knives are expensive. Now most of us, the only kind of knives we have in our house is cheap kitchen knives out of Asda, Morrison's, Tesco, etc. that we maybe paid about £10 for a set of 5 kitchen knives. And that's fine. For most people, that's about as far as that goes. But for some people, they need knives to do their job. Another example of this is people who work in forestry. They arguably need the biggest of the knives. They need everything from 3-inch pocket knives to, I don't know, 3 feet long machetes, axes, etc. For obvious reasons, trimming bushes, shrubs, limbing trees, etc. You've also got sportsmen, such as people who partake in fishing. Knives are used by fishermen to, of course, prepare the fish, to gut the fish, cook it, etc. And of course, people take knives camping. In fact, let me give you an example of such a knife. This would be a good option to take camping. People do carry knives like these to go camping, fishing, perhaps cycling, walking. Those are not the people, who are out to cause harm. This is a lock knife. It is not legal to carry without good reason. But people do have good reasons to carry it. And they're not out to get you. They're not out to cause violence. Now, for some other people, they just like knives for whatever their reason is. I like knives. I have a lot of knives. And let me explain to you why, if you would take the time to listen to what I've got to say. Because, like I said, unfortunately, there is a lot of bad press about knives, and, well, perhaps you'd like to hear the other side of the story. Let me tell you from my perspective. I think knives are a useful tool that should be carried by pretty much everyone, everywhere, every day, so long as they're not intending on harming anyone. Now, of course, if someone has this in their pocket to scare someone, that's a problem. That's not okay, and I do not accept that. And I think those people should most definitely be punished. Or those people who think it's okay to stab someone or anything like that, that's definitely not okay, and the majority of us don't think that's okay. To me, a knife is a useful tool, and it has many uses. I have my own uses for it. I like to use them to cut fruit, whittle wood, etc. And I like to collect them. I think they look nice. I mean, this is a good example. This has brass bolsters, brass pins, beautiful walnut handles, etc. Really nice craftsmanship in this. And these are not cheap. A knife like this nowadays will run you about £60. Your gang members, terrorists, whatever, most of them aren't going to pay that kind of money for a beautiful pocket knife like this. They're going to use those same kitchen knives that you use, bought out of Asda, Morrison's, Tesco, doesn't matter where. They're going to take them out of the kitchen drawer and use it for acts of terrorism or gang violence. Most of them are not using knives like these. Knives like these, or any kind of knife really, for a lot of people, they're just fun to collect. I have a lot of knives. A lot of knives. I don't know how many, but I have a lot of knives. And I have never would never dream of hurting someone with a knife. Never. It's a useful tool. I like the manufacturing, the history behind certain knives, the applications of the knives. I like using the knives, maintaining them. I mean, a lot of us who collect knives don't just like to use them and carry them. We like a lot of the maintenance. I mean, for some people, even sharpening the knives is enjoyable. I mean, I enjoy it. Some of us spend a lot of money just on sharpening equipment. For example, a set of quality Japanese waterstones, which you use to put an edge back on a blade, keep it sharp, for some people can cost up to £150, and that's cheap ones. People who are going to commit acts of violence with these blades aren't going to spend that kind of money on them. Now, this is an example of a knife that is not legal to carry. So, of course, being a law-abiding citizen, I do not carry this knife because I don't have a legal reason to. I keep this at home on display because to me, well, I don't see how it's any different from a painting. For some people, they like paintings in their house, like ornaments. No, not me. I like knives. And I'm not out to hurt anyone. Let me show you another example of a knife. This to some people might be a bit more scary. I don't know, it's subjective. This is a knife that is legal to carry. This knife is legal to carry because it does not lock. And that cutting edge from here onto here is less than 3 inches. Because of these two factors, and because it is not a banned knife, I can legally carry this anywhere I like, with the exception of pubs, clubs, schools, etc. I have carried a knife like this for over 3 years, and I have caused no harm or fear to anyone. I keep it in my front jeans pocket, and no one knows it any different. They don't know I have it. Never have I pulled it out to attack or cause fear. It's just there for where I need it. And I do use it for just opening packages, cutting fruit, etc. Where's the harm in that? I'll give you another example. I'm sure most of us knows what these are. This is a Swiss Army knife. This is an older one. It is a Victorinox. The shield's just worn off. Probably one of the most carried kinds of pocket knives, especially in the UK, as it is non-intimidating. I mean, something like this Boker is perhaps a bit more intimidating, which is why I personally choose to carry a Swiss Army knife most of the time. But I do from time to time like to carry a knife like this. But either way, every single day, I have a knife in my pocket when I go outside. In fact, I don't leave home without one. And for me, that's been the case since, well, for at least 5 years anyway. Probably closer to 6. Now, a lot of what the police and government and certain organisations say to you, knives not lives, or that sort of nonsense. Carry a knife, lose your life. No, that's not true at all. In some circumstances perhaps, but just having that in your pocket, that makes no difference at all. Like I've said, I've carried a knife for over 6 years and no one knows I have it, and there's been no trouble at all. No one's tried to take it off me, well, because they don't know I have it for one thing, but I've never felt the need to pull it out on anyone, even when confronted. Even when people have gotten in my face, I've never felt the need to pull it out. I just use it when I need it. And something like the Swiss Army knife has many other useful tools and features. Let me show you. Here we have a bottle opener and a screwdriver. And a pair of scissors. There's many tools on this, but you don't need to see these right now. If you're interested in knowing more about the Swiss Army knives, I've got videos on those. We see here a pair of scissors. Who doesn't use scissors? Isn't it handy to have it in a small, compact, multi-function pocket tool like this? You can carry everywhere. Now this is a legal option, you can carry this almost anywhere, except the places which, you know, I've previously stated, pubs, clubs, schools, etc. But could you tell me, if you're a person who does not like knives, who hates knives, or is scared of knives, or maybe just doesn't understand knives, can you tell me what the problem with having this in my pocket is on a day-to-day basis, so long as I do not intend on harming someone? Or why I can't carry something like this, so long as I don't intend on harming anyone? I'm just a person like you, and I don't want to see people hurt either, and neither does the majority of the knife collecting community or the knife using community. None of us want to see anyone get harmed. In fact, we are just as shocked as you are and saddened as you are when someone loses their life to an immoral, hateful, evil person wielding a knife as a weapon. To most of us, knives are not weapons. And even the ones that are designed to be used as weapons doesn't mean they have to be used as such. Remember, I did say about collecting. Now, I'm a person who likes all knives. I appreciate any blade, in fact. But let me give you an example of a military knife. Now this knife might scare you a bit more than other knives, but I assure you, it just sits in the cabinet. This is made by an American company called K-Bar. It has a 7-inch blade. This is called the USMC fighting knife because it is used, I believe it is used by the USMC, the United States Marine Corps, as a combat knife. As I said, it has a 7-inch blade and it has quite a large leather handle. So this is a military knife and it is intended for combat. But does that mean I have to use it for combat? I mean, because I have a knife like this, does that mean I have to go and use it for combat? Or does that mean I want to hurt someone? Does that mean I want to, tear out someone's throat or, stab them over 50 times in the chest? No, of course not. To me, that's absolutely awful. Why would I want to do that? And if I did want to do that, why would I use a knife like this? I mean, a knife like this costs about £100. If I really wanted to harm someone, wouldn't it make more sense, as I said previously, to use a cheap kitchen knife? It maybe cost me £10 for a pack of 5 out of Asda. But why do I have a knife like this? Well, it's interesting for many reasons. I quite enjoy the quality of the knife. I enjoy the materials. I do quite like leather. To me, this knife is aesthetically pleasing. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. And it is a useful tool. Some people take these camping. Some people use these for woodworking, for splitting wood, fishing. Now, is that really a bad thing? For me, it just sits in my collector's cabinet. I have a cabinet where I like to keep some of my knives like this. This knife just sits in my cabinet. And that's where it's always been since I bought it. Why is that such a bad thing? You don't have to like it, but please understand, even if you disagree with me, please try to understand that people do enjoy these things and we're not out to hurt anyone. And I am just as sickened and saddened as you are when someone uses something like this to assault another person. But they could just as easily use any other item to harm and assault someone, such as a hammer or a car or a lead pipe, a crowbar. It doesn't really matter what the person is using to harm someone. The fact is they're harming someone. Now, some people like to bring up the argument about design. Yes, this knife is designed to kill people. Does that mean I have to use it for that? Well, like I said, no. I've had this knife for over 3 years, and as you can see, it's in brand new condition because, well, this knife has never tasted blood, nor will it ever. Unless, of course, I decide to use it for whittling or something and I get a little cut in my hand, that's obviously different. But just because people own knives like these doesn't mean that we're going to use them to harm anyone. And this knife in front of you here will never be used to harm another person. Let's just look at another knife. This is the Leatherman Wave. This is what's known as a multi-tool. It's called a multi-tool because, like the Swiss Army knife, it has multiple functions. It has, well, it's plier based and it has 2 knives, it has screwdrivers, can openers, etc. Let me just give you a quick look. This is your plier based multi-tool. And it does have useful tools such as a saw. But the reason this is in this video is because it does have a knife. Well, maybe for some people this is a bit more acceptable. Now, under UK law, this is not legal to carry. The blade is less than 3 inches, however, it does have a locking blade. This right here is the lock. So because it has this feature, I cannot legally carry it. Now, does this look like a deadly weapon to you? Now, it can be used as one, but it's certainly designed to be as such. This is meant for workmen, cyclists, sportsmen, people who enjoy the outdoors. It's designed for camping. It's designed to have in your pocket whenever you walk out the front door. In fact, it's designed to be in your pocket all the time for when you need it. And a lot of us do need it. And a lot of us like to have it. Why is that a bad thing? How much does a thing like this cost? Well, when I bought it, which was about 6 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, I can't quite remember, but when I bought it, I paid £60. Now, you're looking at about £100. Do you really think someone is going to spend £100 on a quality built, made in the USA tool like this to go out and stab someone? Of course not. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. Some people will, but the majority of us do not. Now, I will say, if you are interested in these, there are some multi-tools you could legally carry. Why not have a look at some of the other videos on my channel if you're interested in learning more about that? Let's look at a knife that we should all be very familiar with. A sliding utility knife. I'm sure most of us has one of these sitting in the drawer somewhere or in a toolbox. We all know what this is. This is an example of a knife that is used every single day by tradesmen. Carpet fitters, joiners, bricklayers, anyone who works in construction essentially, they have these knives. And they're not causing a problem. This is a locking knife, so it is not legal to carry. Unless, of course, you're using it for your trade or you've got some other valid reason to carry it. But most of those tradesmen, 99.9999% of them, are not using knives like this for violence, they're using it as part of their trade. And strangely enough, they don't feel like going on a stabbing rampage. So, I'm sure most of you can accept that. I don't doubt that a lot of you have probably noticed tradesmen with these in the side pocket of their work trousers, because a lot of them forget to take it out of their pocket when they, go to the chip shop for a portion of chips for tea. And even then, they still don't feel the need to pull it out and threaten someone. So why, if they are not willing to do that, why would someone like me who carries a knife for other utility purposes, why would we pull out something like this to threaten people? Now, bearing in mind, knives like these are used in crime far more than these other knives that I've shown you. The knives used mostly in crime are kitchen knives and utility knives, not pocket knives, not lock knives. I mean, there are lock knives, of course, used in crime, usually the cheaper ones, and certainly not K-bar USMC knives. Perhaps some of the cheaper variants, the cheaper Chinese ones, but that doesn't mean those should be banned. I mean, even people who don't have a lot of money should still have access to them for personal collection, for use as a tool, for work, whatever their story is, they should still have access to it. What I'm saying is you shouldn't punish people unless they've done something wrong. People like me with a lot of knives, I've done nothing wrong. Some people like to suggest things just because I own knives. Well, I'm not up to anything, I'm just a guy like you. I'm just a person with interests and hobbies and things that I enjoy and things I like to buy and collect. We all have our interests and things we like to buy and collect. Well, for some people that is knives, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So maybe I've not changed your opinion. I mean, I like to think that I could sway some people's opinions just a little bit. But if you've made it this far, thank you for staying and listening, and hopefully you consider what I have to say on the matter and try to realise that not everyone with knives is out to cause violence. But like I said, if you're interested in learning more, please check out my channel. Or any channel to do with knives for that matter. So, thank you very much for watching, and if you're interested or you like what I had to say, why not give me a like, or even a dislike if you don't like what I've got to say. Fair enough, it's up to you. But if you like my content, perhaps consider subscribing. Thank you for watching.